They said the prenup was unbreakable. They laughed at me in the courtroom, confident that every penny, every asset, every single ounce of dignity belonged to them. She smirked cold, sharp, almost victorious when she said, "The prenup is bulletproof." And me? I didn't utter a single word. I didn't need to. All I did was raise my hand and point toward one single clause. That single line of text changed everything. It all began like every fairy tale romance. When I first met Anaya, she was magnetic charming, intelligent, and she made every room brighter. I wasn't rich back then, not even close. I was just a startup dreamer with a laptop and endless ambition. She, on the other hand, came from a world of status, family reputation, and luxury I could only imagine. Our worlds collided by chance, or maybe by fate. She believed in me, or at least that's what I thought. Together, we built memories, and slowly, I built an empire. My small idea became a company. That company became a movement. And suddenly, the man who once worried about rent was now featured on magazine covers. But with success came shadows. And the woman who once smiled at me across coffee table began to look at me as a trophy, not a partner. Before marriage, her family insisted on a prenup. Just a formality, they said. I didn't mind. I wasn't marrying her for money. I was marrying her for love. So, I signed. And in that thick pile of legal text, hidden between words of wealth and protection, was a weapon they thought I would never notice. The prenup was ironclad or so, they believed. Every possible exit, every scenario, every safeguard was in their favor. If we divorced, I would leave with nothing. Not the house, not the shares, not even the watch on my wrist. But here's the thing about contracts. The devil hides in the details. At first, I ignored the signs. The late-night calls, the dismissive tone, the sudden disinterest in my dreams. Until one evening, I overheard her. Not speaking as a partner, but as an investor. He doesn't even realize it. The prenup will protect everything. Once it's done, I'll walk away untouched. That night, my love story shattered. It wasn't heartbreak, it was betrayal. And betrayal burns colder than hatred. But instead of anger, I found clarity. I remembered the prenup. I remembered every page, every line. And I remembered one clause they had overlooked. Buried deep in that contract, between endless conditions, was a single clause written in legal jargon. It said, "Any material misrepresentation or fraudulent intent during the marriage nullifies this agreement." Fraud. Intent, misrepresentation, simple words with devastating power. And I had evidence, screenshots, messages, recordings, enough to show that from the very beginning, this wasn't love, it was a calculated plan. She married not for life, not for companionship, but for control. The day of the trial arrived. She entered confident, dressed in elegance, surrounded by her lawyers. They looked at me like I was already defeated. She smirked as she leaned forward and said those words. Words dripping with arrogance. The prenup is bulletproof. Her lawyers argued first, hammering down the contract as unbreakable. They spoke of clauses, percentages, signatures, all lined up like a fortress of legal might. And then, it was my turn. But I didn't give speeches. I didn't waste breath. I simply stood, walked toward the judge, and handed over a single folder. Inside, evidence of fraud, evidence of intent, proof that love had been a mask, and greed was the face behind it. And then, quietly, I pointed to that one clause. The courtroom fell silent. Her smirk vanished. The judge read the clause. He read the evidence. And slowly, the fortress of their so-called bulletproof prenup crumbled. The law was clear. A contract signed on deceit is no contract at all. Her lawyers tried to protest, but words became stammers. Every text message, every careless whisper she thought I'd never hear. became a blade cutting through her defenses. And then came the final verdict. The prenup. Null and void. She lost everything she had schemed for. The wealth she wanted to protect. Gone. The empire she thought she'd inherit. Out of reach. And me? I walked out not just with assets, but with freedom. Sometimes, revenge doesn't scream. It doesn't break. It doesn't destroy and fire. Sometimes, revenge is silence. A single finger pointing to a single line of text. And as I walked out of that courtroom, I realized true power isn't in wealth, or contracts, or signatures. It's in knowing the truth and waiting for the right moment to reveal it. They thought they had written my ending. Instead, I rewrote theirs. The prenup wasn't bulletproof. Because in the end, greed always leaves cracks, and all it takes is one clause to break it apart.